Alright guys, what is happening? It's been a pretty rough week, I can't lie. Multitude of factors are just stepping in for this one, which have just made it pretty suboptimal trading. You can probably tell I'm pretty tired at the moment. I did some degeneracy last night, so it's my alarm to get to the market. And that's why I picked that song. A reminder to just be happy. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? It's just money. So if we look at the Pro, it's disabled. And we're gonna have to do an account reset on this. If we come back to the test, you'll notice there's another account here, and we are already in some drawdown, nearly by a K. It is all the same as yesterday. We deliberately locked ourselves out. I really love the TopStepX platform. It's super good to prevent just doing stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, not every platform, if I'm obviously trading personal funds as well, I might not be able to have access to software like this. So it really just comes down to me and my system and my processes. I shouldn't need a platform that locks me out. I should just be able to mentally say, okay, that's enough for today and no more trading. But I was bummed yesterday that we took a few losses. The strategies that I've been trying to use, it's just really hard taking considerable loss after loss. I don't think I've had a streak this bad in a very long time. It's causing me to question whether I know how to trade, whether I should even have this channel. All these questions are popping up. I think yesterday I just said, nah, I know how to trade. I'm a trade. So stayed up for the AM session yesterday. We actually did get in around here, and we got out a bit early. We got out at about here. Price just kept plummeting, and I just kept trying to call the bottom to ride it long. We were in drawdown obviously on that take profit trader account. We're up 1k. We're at 51,000. I've got a screenshot as well in the Discord channel. Yeah, so this was my screenshot this morning at 1 a.m. This was the trade that I took. So we did get in up here, and then we got out. We trailed our stop, so once this bearish candle came up, took us out, and you can see the account balance of 51,000 on the Take Profit Pro. So this was all a few hours ago. I just tried to get tricky and smart and tried to write it up. Went to our accountability tab and basically said what happened. The trailing drawdown was the thing that got me in the end. I just wasn't even taking note. I thought I still had a lot more drawdown to work with. Disabled. I do get 3 resets, but they are about $1,000 Australian dollar to reset. I didn't know that at the time. That's pretty much the update. We're now back on the charts for today. I don't know why it keeps on putting it as GU when I first come, but we'll flip on over to our MNQ charts. What I'm expecting today, FOMC is coming out, so expecting a lot of manipulation pre the news today. I think with the massive dive that the market's taking, crypto, everything like that, I think it's all just gearing everyone for the news release. I believe it's this afternoon, which would be my early morning. Let's quickly check. The NFP is coming out at 11:30 p.m. today. Post that news, I think 9:30 open is really going to see a run to that side. I think we just need to have an idea of what the market's most likely going to do, where it's going to do it at. Basically, we want to order these for our rules, and then just a bit more into the week. I think New Year's really threw everything for a bit of a spin. Trying to stay up from 12. Since then, I haven't really been getting to bed at around that 10:30 time for the 7 hours since, and I've just been having late nights, and then rules get broken. Like, sleep really does impact the quality of anything you do, not just trading. That's probably the biggest thing to work on this week. It's 1 week in the grand scheme of things. If we can rectify a lot of this stuff before the halfway point of the year, we should be flying from July onwards for 2025. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I need to keep reminding myself that it's going to take time. I can't rush the process. I've got to stick to the process. Let's get into my prayer and meditation. I'm going to do that first. Breathe for a few minutes and pray, and then let's get into it. Alright, let's get into it. I'm actually pretty happy because I did say that I want to start coming like 15 minutes after the open, just to avoid that manipulation that we usually see at the very start of the session. We've got about 5 minutes. I'm not trying to rush myself, trying to give us enough time to really make the best decisions going forward. So what do we see here? We have disrespected this 4 hour There's a volume imbalance right in here, which we did close slightly under. And then it looks like we haven't really closed around this point since then. So from a daily perspective, if we are pushing up, this looks like a pretty clear-cut target. This will be our first label. Label this red for the significance. We've got a daily CB resting in here. Just trying to see what else we would have. So this is yesterday's low. We'll just mark this out. Tuesday's low. This is a key point as well. Then we got yesterday's high, Tuesday's high. And then we've also got Monday's high resting just above. So usually with NFP weeks, because NFP comes out on that Wednesday, usually seeing the high or the low of the week made on that Wednesday, because there's more than likely going to be volatility and volume coming out once we have the open bell at either 8:30, which is when the news comes, or 9:30. So usually if that's the case, 8:30 is going to be the manipulation leg, where it moves away from the overall price. My thought is going lower. We also have this monthly BISI, which I've labeled out previously, and it would work to take out the stops that are resting here, more than likely leave this intact. There's definitely lots of targets that we could aim for. I think if we are going higher, we take Tuesday's low, take out all this liquidity that's resting here, and then look to invert. But it's hard to pick where that would be, because we have this low in here, and we also have a weekly volume imbalance resting in here. Just label this. Weekly VI, stands for volume imbalance. These levels are combined, and because these are high time frames, so this is only daily and 4 hour, we've got a weekly and a monthly level down here. If we're going lower, I would want us to see us at least tap into this daily CB. Based on all this, if we're seeing price slowly start to move higher during London, it might be gearing us up for the New York manipulation. So look to take out Asian highs, push up higher, react off this CB, and then floor lower. The other alternative is if we start moving lower now and look to take out Tuesday's low, that should be just a liquidity grab. We've also got a 4 hour volume imbalance in here, just noted as well. For this 4 hour volume imbalance, it's quite small, so it's just hard to see on these time frames. Cool. We got all our key levels marked out now, which is good. We can start zooming down in. I want to keep the 4 hour always going on the far left. We'll have our 10-minute resting in here, and then we'll have our 5 or 3-minute on this side. So I'm actually really liking the 3-minute chart. I think it's a nice midpoint between that 1 minute and the 5 minute. So you're not getting too much noise, but you're also getting to understand how the market's moving on a smaller time frame. The goal will be to try get these accounts all funded, this combine that we have now essentially for take profit, and obviously the TopStepX combine. With the top step, we're going to have to be a bit more aggressive, as we've only really got a week to go. So you'll see me start upping the risk, especially because we've only got 1,000 to work with as well. So it's a bit counterintuitive, but this is usually when I start to go heavy. I like to go heavy from day one, to be fair, and I'm probably going to start implementing that more. I think it's been good to build up this process of what I do when I'm funded, the 20% and things like that, for the combine stage, because as I've said before in short content, it doesn't really make much sense to be taking this so slow and steady. It's going to take 30 days, and then you're finally started to trade the live funds. You're going to have the up and down seesaw. Whereas if you're passing within a week, ideally that should be the target, then you already started on that funding process. You can start moving. Time is money. If you're taking 30 days to go, multiply that by 5 accounts, or you're taking 5 days to go, multiply that by 5 accounts. It's a difference between 25 days and 150 days. It's a fair bit of time. It adds up. It's pretty significant. That's like half the year you're spending on combines, when in a month's time you could have had the same result. So anyway, we'll see how we go. It's definitely a lot more riskier. Accounts are going to get blown a lot faster. You need some capital to weather the storms, but Once you've funded and you've made 1 or 2 payouts, all of the failed challenges are accounted for. That's just the way I see it. But anyway, let's have a look at what we are going to be looking for today. So, need our ICT toolkits. I don't know why we can't see Asian session here. I'll just try resetting this. Okay, cool. Managed to get the stuff all going now. So we can see here that Asian session, we've come tapped under. So more than likely the draw is going to be for Asian session highs. We've got equal highs resting right here. So we'll look to see if we can get a fill to ride this up. Again, 30 seconds till this 10-minute candles. Ideally what we're going to be looking for is something like this. Stops at this low. First partial would be here for about 1 hour. But we got new day opening gap as well. Ideally that's going to be our full target right there. If we get a bit of a retracement in here, just get this trade ready to go. I'm liking this. It's pretty straightforward. Just London session looking for Asian highs. Reversal pattern coming in. I don't think we'll do 6 contracts. Yeah, it's going to be a bit too steep. But I'm going to try the heavier risk approach here. I like these rules for when we're funded, like keeping us in the game. But to get past the combines, I'm going to go back to my idea of trying to get these based on that time reason I gave before. So if we go 3 here, we're looking at about 750. If we can ride up to here, about 800. Probably not going to have a TP, to be honest, if what we're saying is what we're expecting. More than likely final TP is going to be somewhere about up there. Max we can take on a day is 1,500 as well, but we'd definitely be looking to implement partials and trailing stops as we go. That's something that I really want to work on for every single trade. Just the set process. I'm seeing it too many times with profits floating and then it's just gone. So that's what we're trying to work on for the time being. We're going to be patient, see if we can get this fill for price to come down rather than chasing it. If it goes off without us, it goes off without us. Just need to get back to doing that as well. It's capital preservation. So 3 for a 250 loss in here. Do that, we'll run that. Same thing. I'm just going to run it with the top steps as well. Now if we blow these accounts, that's fine. With the time pressure, especially on this one, that's just the way that we're going to run it. Personal daily loss, I'd say half of what we have left. We're going to liquidate and block at 500. With only a week to go, I've just got to go a bit more balls to the walls. And this is what I'm used to as well. Let's see how we go here. Ideally, we invert this. If we miss this move and it just keeps on pumping, that's fine. We're just going to sit on our hands. Hopefully we close above, get a market structure shift, and then wait for a pullback into here to continue. I'm going to keep it a bit more simple on the MNQ chart. Probably just stick to a 5-minute chart. That's all we're really needing. Okay, cool. Looks like we're coming back here to potentially get filled. And we're just going to take the same trade pretty much on here. So we'll make it 2 instead of 3. See if we can get a fill off VWAP here. Okay, nice. Stop's going to rest below this low right here. Asian highs are sitting and resting just here. So we'll just see what the TP would be about here. So that's about 70 for a partial. Probably just moves to break even there. We'll just see where that daily SIBI is. That's where we'll look to take off at least 1. So the daily SIBI is in here. We'll partial here and then we'll look to take the rest off way high if we want to pump. We might see some resistance in here, which is why we got our first partial, just resting at this SIBI. I think it could go all the way to at least fill up in there. If we do want to pump, then we'll obviously adjust that as we go. We've just been tapped in on here as well. And so now it comes down to the actual trade management. Really nice, we were able to get a trade pretty quickly, like as soon as we came to the charts, but now it's that management aspect I want to start drilling and honing in. So I think for now we start looking at the 10-minute chart. My stops should be here, especially based on this reaction. But we'll wait for the close, so once we make new highs on a 10-minute, that's when we can start adjusting. I don't want to choke the trade so soon. Same with the top step, I think we just keep it on a 5-minute here. That makes more sense. And then if we're going to be adding on to our position, we're just adjusting the risk accordingly as well. Ideally, we're looking for a structure shift on this high. If we see something like this is when we're green lighted to add more to the size. I'm noticing that the 5-minute market structure shift works really well. I'm going to put some alerts at different price points so we're not staring at the charts. We'll only come back once we get alerted to do. I think that's going to save a lot of my mental capital and time as well. This is a key level we want to be alerted at. Vision session highs is a key level we want to be alerted at. This daily SIBI, we definitely want to be alerted at. So these are probably the top 3 that we'd want to have right now. Looks like we're spooling down a little bit lower here. Not too worried. We got midnight still here resting. If you break it down on like a lower time frame as well, probably had a market structure shift somewhere in here. Looks like liquidity was just grabbed. Let's have a look. Yeah, we did get a market structure shift here on the 1 after taking out this liquidity. Let's draw a quick fib. That's 50% right there. So we did get in a little bit early, but using VWAP and all these other reasons, I think it still warrants our entry here. So we got some support, this 50% level. Looking to invert this. And then as we said, we want to make sure that we're getting above here before we're adding more on. Yeah, got our alerts ready. That's Asian session high right there. We've also got an alert resting here in case we start pulling back. But for now, we just leave everything as is and then check back in a few minutes. On the low time frames, 3-minute here, finding support on the midnight open. So that's always a really good sign if you're starting to see this. Based on my back testing, if we respect midnight here, we should continue on our initial trajectory. Once we get above this 10-minute high, that's when we're going to adjust stops to this low right here. So I'll just mark this out. Maybe make this color yellow, because we're happy, right? We can adjust stops. Cool. So we got this level in here. If we get a closure above, if we just wick and then we come back down, that's where we adjust our risk as well. As soon as we're taking this high, that's when we should be coming back and getting ready. So I'm actually going to put another alert just here. Cool. And I'm just going to do what I need to do. Once that alert pings, I'll be back. Alright, we're back. I just had a quick shower and got pinged with this. This one's still... It's really not gonna work, is it? It just looks like a white halo ghost screen. Basically just the alert's been tapped. If we check here on the market, we did reach up into this high. So we're just gonna be mindful of this 6-minute closure on the 10-minute. Because we've already taken it, we should adjust our stops, as we said before. I'm just looking for a decent spot that isn't going to be a liquidity run. I feel like that low is going to be used. I'm just trying to think where everyone else is going to put their stops, and I don't want to put my stops where everyone else's is. Checking if there's any potential holes or pockets, but really I just think the safest move is here. So we're still minimizing the risk if it does come down against us, but also at the same time, we're not joining the masses on where everyone else is going to have their stops, because that's just a target for liquidity to run to, take everyone out and then keep going. So got a fair value gap up in here. We'll just monitor the TopStep account here too. We'll do the same thing. It's these equal lows, or maybe this low that we have on the other account. So we'll just take this one. At least we knock off about 47 or 50 bucks off the risk. And that's really all we should be focused about. Until we're at break even, it's just about minimizing that loss as much as possible. So for now, I'm glad that we haven't taken a full R loss based on this. Let's just keep it pumping. I'll label this. This is our Asian session high right here. Let's make this a different shade of yellow. Make this one orange. Definitely some draws up to here, resting equal highs, the daily SIBI, all these factors. We've also got this SIBI as well on a 5, which aligns with the daily. So all these key points, we'll just keep our eye on the market alert here. We really don't need to do too much until that's hit. Alright, cool. So this 3 minute has just closed. We've come tapped back up into this BISI, and it looks like we have closed above where we had for this 10-minute line. We've still got 2 minutes for this 10-minute, and then it's about to be 4. So my parents have been staying with us for a few weeks, and they're taking off back home pretty soon. So we did organize a bit of a family night. What I'm going to do is just adjust stops. We're going to put them pretty tight for the time being. I really don't like this position because I feel like this is a bit susceptible. Price might come down into here, but we're just trying to minimize the risk. Just going to move my stops to here as well, and I'm going to spend a bit of time with the fam. Hopefully when we come back we're way up above into this territory. If we get stopped out, it is what it is. Family first, right? So see you guys in a bit. Family night's still going. I'm just doing a quick check before I duck off backstairs. We're almost finished up now, so should be all sweet. Just seeing where we are, maybe on a higher time frame here. Still all efficiently filled in here. We do have an hourly FVG right at our entry, so I still think this is where we keep stops. I'll just check the 10-minute. Ideally, honestly, we should probably be at this low right here. We haven't really closed above there, so maybe break even here. It's a bit annoying that we do still have this hourly, but we can always look to re-enter. That's what I need to start getting in my head. Let's go break even just in case it does want to continue ripping to the downside. And that way, if it does come down here, taps off, we can always just get back in. Even if we get back up in here, but we at least confirm that we're going higher, it's fine. We have to give up, sure, but at least there's less risk on the table. I can't really monitor this. It would be nice to keep everything as is. To be fair, we shouldn't really be coming down back here again. Just check on a 15, yeah, like this right in here should ideally be stop. Wouldn't want us coming back down here, even though we got VWAP. If it does, then that's okay. We can just look to jump back in. So we'll run it from this 10-minute low, and we'll check in a little bit. Hopefully we're nowhere near there. Alright, looks like we are pushing up, which is good to see. Stops can go below this low here now. Do the same on the top step. So we're just taking Asian session high. Just going to see whether we get a reversal profile here or whether we continue pushing higher. Lower time frames are definitely going to be handy, but we're wanting to see this on a 5-minute at least. But stops are in a decent spot. Risk is pretty much off the table for the time being, so just going to see how far this trade wants to potentially go. Could look at partialing here. If we don't get that closure and we just wick above, we'll definitely look to partial out, keep stops where they are. Hopefully we continue running, but let's just wait and see for the time being. We've got about a minute to go here. Based on this reaction, it does look like we might get a bit of a pump, which is good to see. We'll just check on the take profit trader here. Approaching this daily SIBI. So we're probably going to take one of our orders off if we can get up to here. So we do limit, sell one, and we'll put this just before the daily SIBI. So it's at our alert as well. So if we do take it, we'll at least have one partial locked in. Stops at break even. We've got the same sort of setup here on this daily SIBI, and then hopefully we just let the rest of the trade run. I'm not going to be able to be here for the next 2 minutes to go on the 5, so I'll quickly try come and check in on that too. Alright, we are back. So it looks like on a 5-minute we have just pierced and we haven't gone above. With that in mind, we'll check the higher time frames to get an idea of what's going on. Still respecting the civvies in here, but I do think after that big wick we look to close at least one out here. So we're going to market sell one. So reducing our risk there, just need to adjust this. 2 units, and we're going to take one off in here as well. Market one sell. Stops are already above, so this will be our position that we've got remaining to go. Happy with how this is all going for the time being. Minimum, we're looking at about $67 or so up on the day, which isn't anything crazy, but if we had the time, we'd definitely be able to slow and steady build it up, but we're gonna have to go a bit balls to the walls as they say here. But there's still some room to go up. I'm not gonna have this limit order, I don't think. Probably doesn't make much sense, especially if you want to recover a lot of the downward move that we had yesterday. With FOMC coming as well, could potentially see a rip. We'll just have a look. That looks like a fair spot if we do want to pump. Just have to wait and see. If we get a closure above, this is our market structure shift. We can look to pyramid in, but we need to make sure we see exactly what we need to see before that occurs. At least taking some risk off the table as we're going up in this. So yeah, we'll keep things as they are and check in a bit. Okay, so my game plan now, ahead of the news and everything coming out, I think we've run up for this daily SIBI level, and one of two things is going to happen. We either push straight through. If that's the case, I think the news just continues to propel us up and up. I think yesterday was a preset for today. I think lots of people were long, so the market makers took everyone out that was long, went short, hopefully inducing some retail to think, okay, massive drop, we're going to be running short for the rest of the week. They'll let the news driver, hopefully at 11:15, 11:30, suck people into continue going short. I think all of this gets taken. Even Tuesday's low gets taken. We bounce off either this 4-hour or weekly or monthly levels down here, and then we look to reverse to the upside. It's pretty steep, to be fair, so I think maybe 8:30 we start spooling, 9:30 like we'll probably open up around here, spool a little bit lower, and then looking for that 10-10 reversal at around here. So that's option one. Or option two, we just begin pumping straight to the upside. I think that's the other alternative. We look to take all of this out. Tuesday's high, Monday's high, like it would just be a massive pump. I don't think we're going to get much stagnation and manipulation in price. I think it's going to go one or two ways. So just making sure we're adjusting stops as we're moving higher as well. So once we take this high, we'll move this yellow line. That's where we're going to look to adjust our stops. And again, we're wanting a closure above these levels. Once we get that close, then we can look to adjust stops. Just checking on the lower time frames as well. So you can run all the way in there. Yeah, we'll just leave it at the lows for the time being. I can sometimes get a bit antsy and wanting to go to the bodies and things like that, but it's just a patience thing. We're just going to have to sit with the trade for quite some time, but that's all right. Okay, we did technically get our market structure shift on a 5-minute as well now. If we zoom right in, this tiny little body is above that yellow line that we were identifying. On a 5-minute as well, so this does green light us. More than likely we're going to have a bit of a retracement coming back in here for 50% of the move, most likely. Oh, just adjust that. Let's say it's this high, so we don't take it. We got 50% pretty much at our original entry down here with VWAP still sitting here. I think based on what we're seeing now, we just leave everything as is. Hopefully we do get in a position where price wants to keep pushing to the upside. I look at the higher time frame, see if there's any spots that we could look to add back in, but really in no rush on this. We've got a volume imbalance on a 30-minute right here. It looks like we did get a closure on the 30 above this high as well. Body's just under the Asian session highs. Glad we've taken partials, at least risk is reduced on this trade, which is good. See this one hourly. Still have this tiny little gap in here. Ideally we just find support off here and then continue to run. See what the risk is like if we take that there. Okay. So that's 60 really, but again we can always get back in. That's the thing I need to keep reminding myself, so that we can always just look to re-enter. It's a bit annoying that our entry is right at that position. I usually don't like when my trades are like this. I like to see these areas tested and then move away, because then it's a lot safer. Price is coming back down here where the momentum has shifted. But with this still being here, it could be a target to take out some liquidity and then continue moving higher. So we do just have to be a bit mindful of that for sure. Let's see if we find some support here, or whether we want to push lower. As we said before, it might be the move where we start pushing a bit lower here. Ideally, we'd want to hit like a daily CB up in here before we see this start to occur. But if it's happening early, obviously we have no control over that. As we can see here, we are bouncing off. We have had that market structure shift. We should be seeing bullish prices respected going further. But as always, we're just going to let this one sit for the time being. We've got alerts where everything else really needs to be. I just put an alert at the stop that's here. So either way, that's going to be the next time we come to the charts. So we're back again. The last 30 seconds here on this 5-minute candle. Looks like hopefully we might be getting a strong close above the ASH. I am just going to take stops to the bottom of this low right here on this account right here. Take our stops to just below this FVG. I like this method of just slowly trailing. That way, if we get that reversal, we at least have something to show for it, rather than just having stops at break even in the hopes of giving the trade enough room. If we're already way up in profit and it's coming back down, there's likely a change in market sentiment and we're offside. So at least this way, as we said before, we can always get back in. I really need to keep telling myself, you can always re-enter a trade. You don't have to have this one shot, one opportunity. Protect the capital, that's the most important bit, and then let everything else flow. Just seeing where we are on the higher time frames as well now. So hours A is a little bit hard to read. We still have this BC in here, but as we said before, if we get stopped out and we get a nice reaction, we can just look to re-enter. Still got to be managing as we go. But the bit that annoys me is that if we do re-enter here, look at our entry right here. If it's just to come in here and then keep moving, if we have this entry here, it's still going to be a better price for us. I think that's just loss aversion coming into play again. We got a tiny little closure above. We are starting to rip now, so I'm going to adjust my stops to this swing low here now. Because again, just ahead of that news, ahead of 7, I am anticipating a bit of a reversal. But if we don't get that and we just keep pumping, as I said before, we're just protecting ourselves, protecting our downside. So just keep adjusting and let this trade do what it needs to do. Alright, so I have just made a slight adjustment. I'm going to take, instead of this partial at this daily CB, I'm going to take it at halfway through the new day opening gap. I'm just going to monitor it manually. Obviously we've got this alert just before the daily CB. Main reason why I've adjusted, I'm just looking at this 4-hour right here, and it looks like we've taken out the liquidity of the previous 4-hour. We've closed quite bullish, engulfing this. This is now our order block. This whole candle should be used as support moving up higher. If we go down to an hourly, we still have those spots as we were talking about for BCs in here. We get taken out, we'll at least take some profit off the table and then potentially look to re-enter based on what happens around these levels. Ideally, this should be a pyramid entry. That's where I'd be wanting to add to the position that we have here, because our entry already is down here. For price to be coming all the way down here, that's probably when we're going to start that reversal profile. But definitely need to take some partials once we see that coming down. Still look to do our pyramid, but at least that way, if we get break even, we've already taken some partials off the table before we came back down. So I think that will be the game plan. Obviously, if we get a spike down now, so I've got the stops just here, more than likely the next minute and a half, especially on this 4-hour, hopefully we continue to close out bullish. The thing with NQ though, I notice this so often, even if it's 15 seconds to go, you can see price just go from this spot all the way down here to up here, and the candle flips from being bearish to bullish in literally 15 seconds. So even though we've got a minute to go, it's all looking good right now. This could all get eaten in a minute. So try not to celebrate until it's really set in stone, if you will. Cool, so 6 o'clock has just hit, new 4-hour candle in here. Because we did have a closure slightly above this yellow line, we're just going to adjust stops to here. Do the same thing. That 10-minute candle, it's going to be pretty hard to see on TopStep, so we'll just take this low down in here. At least locked up $100 today. We're really going to be needing the profits to be a bit higher if we're wanting to pass within a week. But at least if we can set ourselves up for next week to have just a little bit more of a buffer zone from this max loss, that would be ideal. And we're going to be taking some pretty heavy trades next week with the goal of hopefully passing this combine within 5 days. We've only really got 4 days to work with, so yeah, we're going to be going heavy and hopefully it plays out for us. Let's have a look. The market structure shift is definitely leaning me to continue this bullish momentum after yesterday's massive drop. So all these factors in, I do think at least this daily should be taking out this liquidity that's resting here before we see potential moves elsewhere. But even in this, if we draw a fib of this 4 hour from this high to this low, this spot right here is going to be falling in line with a 62 or 70% retracement. If we take this high to this low, we can see bodies are respecting the 62 level. They're ducking a little bit more than the 50, so it's really hard to see. I've got stuff everywhere. But potentially we might come down, tap into this 79% retracement. Sorry, this 0.705 right in here. And then we've also got the 79 retracement, which aligns with this 4 hour volume imbalance as well, taking out Tuesday's low. This could be our turnaround point. If we're coming down here, it's actually going to be a bit of a market structure shift. So I think these are out of the question for now. This is just basically what I'm trying to see on a higher time frame as well. So confirming that longs in this area is a pretty decent spot after this pullback. I think that's all it was. It was just a pullback, catching a lot of people offside that probably had orders resting in here. That's why we had this massive steep drop. Reaching this zone, I do think now we can at least look to ride this back up, but we'll just have to wait and see. 3 minutes looking decent if we can get above all these highs. I just had a big drop to the downside here. We're at this hourly BC now, but that's a very steep drop. So yeah, happy to get taken out here if that is the case. We'll look to get back in, just see the reaction, whether we floor through or bounce up now. Yeah, looking like we might be starting to reverse here, just with the momentum. But yeah, it will really depend on this 5 minute close. So about 113 profit here, still just left in here on this. And taken out as well. So up 100 on the top step and about 200 on the take profit trader, which yeah, really can't complain about. I'm just trying to see, so we're at this hourly level now. We've also got another little spot in here too, and we've also had obviously this big move up as well. So yeah, this is really what we anticipated, because we have had the market structure shift on a 5 minute time frame now. We are still warranted to look for a re-entry. So we've had all of this liquidity taken out here, even had some liquidity in here that we've taken. Obviously market structure shift above this 5 minute. We even took the Asian session high, closed above. We just got to make sure that we don't see a massive steep drop, because that would indicate that lots of buyers are now out of their positions and sellers are the ones taking over the market. So as long as we don't get 2 or 3 candles that look exactly like this, we're still warranted to look for a pullback entry to the upside. At least we're walking away with some form of profit. I need to try and implement this more into my trading. So 50% aligns pretty nicely with VWAP. If we go to an hourly level, we were looking at before, just looks so messy. Yeah, so 50% works quite nicely with this hourly FEG that's resting in here too. So if we draw from here to here, 50% there. If we take the wicks, I think it's going to be more in line with that 50. Really anywhere in this zone is where we'd be looking if we don't see massive spooling to the downside. If we see that, more than likely we're pumping lower. This works in line because if we're wanting to go higher, we'd want to move lower first. Just keeping all of that in mind. I'm just trying to see if there's any fair value gaps maybe on the lower time frame around this 50 red line and this dotted line that we can use for our entry. All of this looks filled. It's probably going to be on like a 1 minute chart here. Yeah, so there we go. Got FEGs resting in here. So our re-entry more than likely is going to be around this candle here. It's going to be within that hourly FEG, so we're going to look to buy 3 in here. Stops are going to be resting somewhere down here. As we said before, I'm just going to go a bit more heavier on the risk on these two accounts here now. Get rid of this. This is the hourly FEG. Let's label this. I'm going to buy at these stops that would be resting here, stop all these people out, and then look to continue the move around here. Let's just wait and see. With the take profit trader, because we've already started the account, the max loss that we're at was 840, so minus 50,000, which puts us at 49160. So looking at where we're at now, we're about $160 in profit. I'm just going to use one buy order here. If we do floor to the downside, I don't want to give away all the profit we've just earned. We'll be at pretty much 100 as well. So that still gives us a bit of a buffer. We're just going to wait for the P news to come out after 8:30 and then potentially look at another entry. So that's the main move where I think a lot of the volatility is going to come from. We've at least secured ourselves a bit of a buffer to work with for that time frame. So we'll put our limit order in here, same spot on the hourly BC here. And then we're just going a bit more heavier on the top step, obviously, because we don't have as much time to work with. There's no daily loss limit on top steps. We'd have our hard stop locked in at 500. Let's see how we go. Okay, we're back. We did have a bit of a steep sell-off right here. So on a 3 minute, we've had a market structure shift. Just trying to see if there's any liquidity we've taken out, maybe on a higher time frame. We haven't taken any out, so this does appear to be just a bit of a pullback. Maybe taking out stops that are resting here. Just taking on the top step, but look, this low right here, forming in line with the hourly BC that we were talking about before. Obviously 50% sitting right here too. But ideally, if we can take out these stops, I think there's a tiny fair value gap just under this low as well. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm just being cautious. As I said, I don't want this to come down in 3 candles like it's doing right now. We'll see the momentum after it takes this, if it does take it, I should say, because it's a bit steep coming in right now. But again, just trusting in the process, we have had this market structure shift after taking out all of this liquidity. I think we still are on side for the time being. That daily CB being resting above us as well. I think that's the draw. I don't think we need to move anything. We're approaching VWAP here now too, which is in line with all the 50%ers. I'm going to try this because I've been watching some footage which has been speaking about putting an entry where people put their stops. Ideally, that would have been here to add 1 contract in here, so I might actually do that. We'll go 1 market order if we close above this low, because that is our liquidity sweep right there. But if we close below, we'll keep our entry right here where we initially had planned it. It's keeping in line with those higher time frame levels. The bottom of that FEG is this line here. 62% retracement sitting just below too. Just have to wait and see. I'm not liking this steepness though. It's not too ideal, so I might look to adjust the stops on this one pretty quickly. We did close underneath here. tiny little microstructure shift on this side here. But we did close above all of these highs. So if we just wicked and then we had the displacement, fair enough. But because we've had this closure, especially after all of this, I still think momentum is bullish for the time being. Only thing I don't like is the steepness of these candles. So we're at that 50% level now, just tap 50. See if we can spool just a little bit lower. Alright, taking out the stops here. Let's see if we're tapped in on this account too. I'll switch this to percentages as well. I think for my psychology, greed is something that I really need to continue to work on. When I see price, even with tick values, I can do the math in my head on what that would be. So divide that by 4 and then multiply it is basically the profit that we've got running. Whereas percentage wise, I don't know, it just makes it a bit easier to look at extracting from the market. And ideally looking for 0.5 or 1% of the account balance per day would be ideal. We've got midnight resting just below us here as well too, so another bit of support acting, but again, I'm just not liking how steep this is. This is some pretty steep movement to the downside. But I'm just trusting the 5-minute market structure shift really. And let's see how we're doing right now. So come down to the 62 level. We have spooled quite heavily. But let's see if we find some support in any of these zones in here. We're at that hourly. Okay, hourly bissies right here too. Of the 62% retracement. All of this is pretty efficiently filled, so it's very hard to see where we could be going. I don't see any FEGs or anything like that. Next best thing to use is OT, drawing out your fib levels and seeing where that turnaround point could be. This steepness we do have to be mindful of. It was a very nice entry having that 250 right at the bottom of that low, so wouldn't want to be coming much lower. Like we'd need to just react straight away from that 79 level. If we're coming all the way down there, more than likely we're going to take out these lows, just keep pushing lower. This is what we wanted. Like we want Tuesday's low to be taken on a Wednesday with NFP. The steepness of this is probably, I think we just shut ourselves out here, to be honest. This is not what we want to see, so I'm going to take this off for the take profit trader account. Yeah, it's just a bit too heavy, unfortunately. So yeah, definitely not ideal with this play in here. This will definitely keep us out until the New York session. So yeah, these lows more than likely going to be purged right here. I think we just floor all the way down, continued. So it's fine, take the loss here. I'm glad we took ourselves out on this trade. This engulfing straight away is definitely not what we wanted to see. What really happened. Closed above Asian session high with this daily CB above us, which is why I thought we could potentially try and come back up. But based on this reaction, I think further downside and targeting Tuesday's low is the play. Still up on this account, which is good, up about 130. We did unfortunately take a bit of a loss on this, going a bit heavy with the risk, but that's alright. Sitting at about $700 to work with here, so it's all good. I have faith we can definitely bring this back. We've just got to be selective, wait for time and do the right things at the right time. So we'll come back around 8:30. Won't look to trade until about 8:45, but it just depends where we are on the charts of the market at the time. Definitely good to note is this steep downward move. I literally said it too. If we see it in 3 candles, it's no bueno. Should have just stuck to that rather than just trying to YOLO it, but that's okay. Wow, what a move. Insane. What a reversal. This is nuts. Ideally, this is what we want to see, right? Ahead of all that, I think this level that we identified here is going to be the draw for where we want to try push back up. To be honest, like a short position to run for Tuesday's low actually makes a bit of sense here. Just trying to see if we can get a decent entry, not trying to chase price right now. It's gone way too far without us. But if we can get some sort of retracement even to here, look to have stops and then targeting here, just label this, that red. Wow, what a move. I think this is going to go without us, that's fine. just let it go. There's definitely no point chasing now that we're here. 50% of this week is going to be interesting to look at, but being a Wednesday, news coming out, based on everything that we said before, if we do get down here and then we see that reversal profile, all of this just gets ran through. We don't worry about this. I think we're running all the way back up into here. I think this is just pricing everyone, getting ready for a big price. There's no markets tomorrow as well. Remembrance of Jimmy Carter. All these factors combine, and we got to look at how the mass is going to be thinking. How's big money going to be thinking? People that can't trade on a Thursday but have a lot of money and capital to work with a big news driver coming out. I think this is all just ideal for that lower pricing in here. This is pretty much what we'd use for our entry. Can go pretty heavy on the risk on this one. Start small, and if we see the reaction that we need to see, add on. Move stops to break even as early as we can. Tuesday's low definitely being the main target here, but these levels that we've identified as well. I think there's a 4-hour imbalance in here. Ideally, we just wick Tuesday's low and then look to bounce back if we are still bullish. Otherwise, this actually does look quite bearish. Market structure shift here. We've repriced probably about 75% retracement. If we have a quick look. 79% retracement we went up to, and bouncing back down. I like this reaction here. This is good to see. Bit of a wick. So yeah, our entry point would be about here. Looking to risk about 2. And just writing this down to Tuesday's low. Take one partial off here. See if we want a runner to keep going. I'm going to go heavier on the size here. Basically, I'm flipping strategies a little bit quickly to show what it would be like if I just had 50k to work with. We've seen something clear. This is how I usually pass my combines quickly, because you only need 2 or 3 right trades and then you're there, funded. So we go start small always with the risk, because if this wants to keep on blasting away, then you're not obviously losing a lot. But as soon as this starts showing we're going in our favor, add on to the risk, size up. I want to see all of this come up. Ideally find some support around VWAP as well. If this floors without us and we don't get to participate, it is what it is. We've missed the trade. It's not a big deal. Based on all this, I think we run up just a little bit higher here. Alright. So I see an opportunity for potentially a scalp in here. Based on this reaction, I still think we take these highs before we continue lower. So this is how I'd scalp a market like this. Pretty much stops just at this low. We're going to adjust this just slightly, see if we can take out that low. And then look to push back up, ideally above here. Looking to see if we can get back above this high. We are going against the trend here, so not ideal. Okay, 323 loss, that's fine. Alright, see if we get a bearish closure here. If we close above here, I'm sorry, bullish, then we're back in. Bearish PA is really carrying this for the time being. Making some equal lows here now, so hopefully we can get some bullish support right back up to VWAP before taking Tuesday's low. Decent sort of reversal profile here if we can see some buyers stepping in. This is where we'll jump back in. Alright, this is looking ideal. We just need to wait for this closure. Don't want to close like that at all. Again, this being such a big magnet right now, might be where we go. Usually just before levels like this, you'll see buyers trying to protect their position, so we might start to see a bit of a push here. Here we go. Just looking for 2 green candles. If we can get a close, we'll be looking to ride this one up. Alright, there's 2 there. We'll just watch how this last candle wants to close. If we get another bullish closure, we're going to be adding in, looking to take these highs. Alright, we're in. Got to watch this level in here. Still got some room to go before we anticipate some lower pricing. So if we get to this red line, move stops to break even here. Getting ready to exit this one here. I can move stops to this low now. Still looking for hopefully a pump up to here. Just more than likely just taking out this high before we pump lower. Alright, looking to blast through this level now. Want to see that pushed above. Beautiful. Just adjusting stops as we're going. Alright, nice reaction. Alright, decent push. Still wanting this intermediate high to be swept for us here. Aligning with VWAP to get out as well, and just adjusting as we move higher and higher in case we don't get there. Bit annoying the first one that we took. They didn't expect us to take this low first. Thought we'd run up and then look, but being so close to Tuesday's low, now got these lows resting here as well. Retail looks like this is really good support. I think we just absolutely rip through this, continue to the downside. Alright, $100 locked in. If this plays out, I think I'm just going to go back to switching to this strategy just to pass the combines. I need to come up with another plan. It's hard because I go by feel, especially for scalps. It's hard to come up with a consistent plan for scalping, but it's led me to be funded before in the past, and I'd be funded in 2-3 days for max. Then we can actually start implementing the 20%, taking it slow and steady on the pro accounts. The 30 days to do all the requirements does make it hard in the prop space. Back when it was unlimited and FTMO and all the other ones that are sort of Forex based are still not too bad to work with. I'll get stopped out here. Let's have a look at our exit point. See if we can get above these sibbies. If we can't, more than likely we're going to get stopped out here. Just adjust it to the body here. Trying to lock in as much as we can. Hopefully we just blast through. Still keep making new highs here. It's looking promising. Do have a CB resting in here too. This looks nicer for me, to be honest, on this high. Take all that out and then continue to the downside. If we keep pumping higher, it is what it is. Just see where these levels are aligned. That makes sense for an entry in there. Alright, just gotta keep trailing. Check the 30-second here. Still got all these gaps. see if we can run up, take out this high. Alright, that's pretty much the previous trade. Locked back up if this wants to reverse on us. Just take this if we wants to floor down. Ideally we just push right up for this TP now. I think I'm being a bit aggressive with the stops here, to be honest. Probably can just sit here for the time being. Be back at break even if that's the case. Ideally we just respect this and then continue pushing higher. Definitely want this liquidity to be taken. Okay, we're sitting at VWAP now, so just got to be careful. If we don't take these highs right now, more than likely we're going to be pushing lower here. Let's wait and see. If we go back to a 1 minute, still wanting price to at least come up to here. Just looking, our stop placement isn't that great. But we are going against the trend here, so I'm not trying to be too greedy. Let's just wait it out. Scalping, man. High pressure. Alright, we'll come up to these lows in here then. So yeah, we're needing to take these highs. If we meander around here for a little bit, we'll just close the trade out manually. We're pretty close to our TP here now. Let's see if we get that last little push. Oh my days. Try not to be greedy, but okay, nice, cool. There we go, so back up into the green. And just seeing if we get a decent reaction here based on the speed in which we came down. Now left equal lows, resting right here. So this is all looking like what we want to see to hopefully continue this to the downside. So what I might try to do is get this to our max target of 1,500 that we can take in a day, and then switch to the take profit trader. I think trying to run two platforms at the same time is probably weighing on my mental capacity and can lead to wrong decisions being made. But approaching 7 o'clock here, so usually 7 o'clock is reversal of whatever price is doing in the hour leading up to 7. And now that we're having a bit of push, I'll take this limit off. I want to wait till around that 7 o'clock time frame before we start looking. We might still push up into these regions up in here. We'll just wait for the reversal profile to present itself. We could probably switch back to a 15-second chart. Once we start to see moves like this, with big volume introduced, that is bigger than any of the volume that we're seeing here, we might be reversing again. So decent little stab it along here. This style of trading suits me a lot more. I still think these are what I want to use when there's real capital on the line. But for the combines, I'm going back to my original plan. I've tried to play it safe because I think it's a very unique style of risk. It's very high risk, especially when you're putting money on the line with these combines. Like, they're not free. People want to ensure they're getting to that point. For my sake, long term, especially with only being afforded 30 days, with my strategy, I can only trade for 16 days to get this funded. I just don't have the time to be taking it. Even with the 20% risk available, like, you're going to be needing like 7-hour trades, 6-hour trades, which just don't always present. This little move right here on a 15-second, you can see this over and over again. Playing with that idea for the time being, but let's see if we can at least get this to our daily target. So it looks like this might be where we start turning around. See, once these bullish PD arrays start being disrespected, then we know that more than likely we're starting to flip here. So this already is a bit of a cue, respecting VWAP, retesting this area once again. I think this is more than likely where we start to reverse. We still do have a busy in here though, and again, just waiting till 7. So I think that's the plan. Stick to that. That was the first thing I said, just working on sticking to the word. So it's just hit 7 o'clock. I'm expecting these highs to be intermittently ran. We've got a FVG right here, and then we've also got another one resting here, and then on the 1 minute we've got VWAP as well. But if we start to melt now, that would just be our cue to get in. I think the lesson learned was I'd used too much risk on that first one. So even though it just wicked us out, there was just too much of a loss to accrue. So that's okay. See if we react off here. Hopefully looking to take out some form of highs. But if we just start melting below, yeah, like this, then we can look to take this short. That would actually probably be our entry right here. Stops resting here. Nice spooling to the downside. See what this would be looking like. Yep. Look to hopefully pyramid in on the entry as well here. Cool. Stops can go break even now. There's no risk on the table. Beautiful. Keep trailing as we go down. Keep the TP just a little bit lower in case we want to absolutely blitz below. Just trying to find that 4-hour volume imbalance here again. Yes, this is all the way down in here. Seeing it on an hourly. Yeah, and that aligns up with all the liquidity that's resting here too. I think this more than likely at 888. For all my 888 people. Leave that there. Alright, we've got VWAP resting here as well. Look to add on into the position here as well. So adding on. Stops break even here. We're gonna have to adjust where we put our TP. So that's gonna be a bit too much. Look to take off half here anyway. Keep the rest back wherever it was, 1.7 I think. So just continue to trail as we move. This is why I was wanting to wait for 7. Ideally we wanted these highs in that 1 minute FEG to be tapped into. But usually at that 7 o'clock time, where do we start moving down? Yeah, 7's there, and then literally from that candle, just started going. Timing is super important. If we're using it on a funded account we get in London, this is why I take majority of the partials off at 7. If we've been moving in a direction from 3 till 7, that 4-hour period, usually 7's where we start moving the other way to retrace. Alright, so this definitely is still the draw for me. I don't think we really need to do too much else. Just looking for potential spots where we could continue back to the upside. It's highly unlikely. It's good that we're with the trend here. Just gives a bit more confidence in holding on to the trades for a little bit longer. But let's see how we go here. Alright, bit of a spooling. This ideally is going to be a zone where we retrace to continue going lower. That's why I'm just being a bit cautious on the stop adjustment here. We go to a 30-second. See what we have all in here. So it gives at least some room for it to come into this pocket here. If we want to go higher and come into here before we move lower, then it is what it is. If we break below this low, we'll move stops to this high. Close below, not just a break. We've got liquidity resting here as well now, so ideally we're wanting a closure below this white dotted line. Otherwise we're likely just going to come back up to retrace and continue going lower. Which longer yet. So we close bullish after taking out this low, so more than likely we might run up. Hopefully we just keep spooling to the downside, but that indicates that we're taking liquidity, more than likely going to look up here before we go lower. Yeah, it's hopefully taking these highs and then respecting back to the downside. Decent pump to the upside here. Ideally we invert this. As soon as we get below, stops go to this high. Yeah, looking for an inversion now on this BISI. Alright, now that we're close to that side, we'll look to adjust our stops. So an extra 120, locked in. I still think this is a play, to be honest. I think just at a break even for now. We've got so much room to the downside to go. I'm happy to get stopped at break even on this attempt. But if we invert this here, as we were saying before, then I feel more comfortable to move stops here. But we need to invert, that's for sure. This is why I was thinking we would have been stopped out if we kept our stops here. Let's see if we respect. Ideally, we shouldn't be coming much higher back here. If we are, I think we're probably going to fill up a little bit up in here. Hopefully we respect this, and then looking for inversions of all this. Once we get that, then we'll look to adjust stops. Can go all the way up into here, adjust this right at break even. Might get stopped out. VWAP resting just above it, which isn't ideal. Move stops just to this high now. Wouldn't want to be coming back up there. As always, we can look to get back in. Just look to get back in. Yep, with these highs. It's a nice reaction to the downside. I'm going to take this. Stops resting just here. It probably should just be here. If you see what we need to see, add on to the position. I want to see this inverted. Don't want to see us finding support in here. I like that reaction right there. So we're going to add on. VWAP still resting. If we get a closure below this, we're going to add on again. Ooh. So it could be going for VWAP here. We are at this wick now again too. Yeah, we get stopped out. That's alright. Forgot about the daily loss limit. That's super frustrating, but that's okay. We're still up 132, but I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I don't think the loss limits are gonna work, especially if we're scalping. At least it's 132 bucks up. We've recovered the loss from yesterday and put an extra 50 or so, but yeah, I really need to reset and all that. But yeah, VWAP probably was the entry. We can look to potentially take this on the take profit trader here. We're just gonna have to lower the time frames if we're gonna be on the scalping methodology, and then we'll get 30 seconds in here. Yeah, so this is looking pretty clean. Stop loss here, 220 to make 290, so pretty much 1 to 1. See if we can get a slightly better entry. It's like a 1 to 2 now, which is better. Yeah, we'll rock with that. See if we can push back up before we start melting. Otherwise, we might just take off here. Yeah, I think we take off. It's super frustrating about the top step, man. Super frustrating. Oh, it is what it is. I think we're gonna have to adjust this and then adjust this stop to here. See if we can tap up. This is the draw, right? We had all of this stuff mapped out. Super frustrating on this one. We probably just missed this entry, which is a little bit annoying. But honestly, this has just given me a lot more confidence to get back into my scalping. I still like the rules, the plan for everything when it comes to funded accounts. If I actually have my own personal or I'm working funded, this is going to work long term for consistent payouts and keeping us in the game. With these combines, you really do just have to scalp, put max leverage and just go for it, to be honest. Just making sure there's no other positions. Have positions, yep, there we go. Still running and open. Locked out today, super unfortunate. But yeah, it is what it is. Good series though, at least you got to see some scalps, and that's pretty much how I passed all my other combines. Doing small micro moves like that, sizing in when you need to and adjusting stops appropriately. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, as always. If you could do me a big favor, if you made it this far into the video, if you wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, if you feel inclined to share, just helps the channel growth a lot. Thank you once again. See you next video. Peace.